Yeah. Every time someone joins me live, I'm always like, ha ha ha, here she is. Oh, hello, Antonia. Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
Hi, Bianca.
Hot girl, Ada.
Hi. It's so nice. Hey. Guys, we're talking like we haven't spoken like 18 times today.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So funny. But you know how it is. Every time you speak, it's still like a lovely greeting. So obviously we have spoken earlier. I've just explaining to everyone who's on now that the live today is about love bombing. It's the early and first stage of a narcissistic relationship. I thought it was really important, having been in a narcissistic relationship before, a covert narcissistic relationship. I thought it was so important, and so did Aina, to really hit home and focus in on love bombing, because when you research narcissism, you see all of the other stages of narcissistic abuse, but you don't actually see what the hook is, why the reason is that people stay in relationships, why it's so difficult for people to leave, and what they're actually grasping onto, and why they don't want to leave that situation. We were speaking earlier with Aina, and I was saying that some people, like, it's actually ridiculous. It's almost like people think that people stay in abusive relationships because they like abuse. They stay because the love bombing stage is so intense and so addictive that they're trying to bring us back to that stage. So when I did my research, first of all, everyone that was speaking about narcissistic abuse within America, like some American woman or man, and then secondly, when they would talk about love bombing, it would be for 5 minutes and they'd move on, as if it wasn't the most significant part of the addiction to that person.
That's really what draws you back every single time. And because it is such a cycle, that's what people long for so much. So that's why we thought it was so important just to have a whole live on that. So, yeah.
Exactly. So the other thing that we were discussing is that whenever you're talking about narcissism, and I've seen it online as well, and you're doing like any talks on it and people sharing their experience, it attracts people who want to know, want to be educated, but it also attracts narcissists. So we were kind of like in two minds. Shall we leave the comments on throughout this, or shall we take them off? What are you thinking, Aina?
I'm feeling brave today, so I'm feeling
I don't care. Let's put a disclaimer out at the front end of this, okay? Yeah, I'm not on it today, Aina. If there happens to be a narcissist who wants to join the live and wants to start heckling us or trolling us or talking crap, then bring it on and we'll just ignore them, because they're everywhere, particularly on social media.
Yeah, I think we knew. We've got like a whole group of girls that will back us up as well.
Exactly. So everyone who's not a narcissist in this side, back us if people start trolling us in here. But what we also wanted to say at the top end of it as well is that obviously we're going to be sharing our personal experiences and basing a lot of what we're talking about on relationships. But when we're talking about, when we say narcissist and when we're talking about love bombing, please understand that this applies to both genders, right? So narcissist is not a man or a woman, it's a narcissist.
It can be anyone. It can be a sister, it can be your mom, it can be your boss, that's a female too. It's literally anyone and everyone.
Yeah. So if we feel like, when we were kind of looking through it, we thought, let's like do things for women and men. And then we were kind of separating them into gender. And then we thought, well, actually, women or men can do the same thing. You get what I mean? So, yeah, be open to it.
Yeah, a lot of the signs are very similar in men and women. But we'll discuss what they look like in men and women as we go on.
Yes, exactly. So basically, first of all, let's stop and go and say hello to everyone, shall we? Because everyone's saying, hey, who's the crew that we've got in here? Squad goals, Aina. No, I love how I'm not that cool to even look at the comments like, what the hell's going on here? They keep on coming off. Okay, Oh, so we've got stunning Hattie in the house. Hey, Hattie. Hey, Tizzy.
I'm going to hear her laugh in a minute.
Yeah, Toto.
Hi guys.
Fia's in the house. The imperfect mother. We're all imperfect. Love you already. Lucy's in the house. And I think that, your English fairy's here. Jonathan's here. Oh, Gina, my darling. Antonia. DJ Spinach on the decks. And then... and Manny. So we've got quite a few people in the house so far. Hopefully we'll get some more people as well. I'm going to attempt to put a comment and pin it. Don't know if it's going to work, but whilst I'm doing that, Aina, do you want to introduce yourself? Because obviously my followers and your followers are on here. My followers don't know your queen business, so if you want to explain it while I'm doing that.
Yeah, of course. Hi guys, my name is Aina, if anyone doesn't know me here, and I created a page to really educate women and men on narcissistic abuse and mental abuse and emotional abuse. Most of my content comes from personal experience. I was in 2 very long-term narcissistic relationships, and I had no idea that they were narcissistic relationships. I thought, this is normal. This is the way, like, normal relationships are. People have ups and downs, and I thought this was completely normal. And when I came out my last one, a big part of my healing and a big part of me recovering was really educating myself. So through that, I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. This is what happened to me, and through that, I kind of wanted to help others. So I created a page just to spread awareness. And yeah, that's it really so far. I'm training to be a life coach so I can help other women and men coming out of relationships to kind of find themselves again, because I know after coming out of certain relationships that I was in, I was completely lost. I didn't know who I was or what I was doing, or that happens when you're in a narcissistic relationship. So after coming out and really educating myself, I found purpose through that, and I met Bianca. And I joined her group, her life coaching group, and yeah, that was it, really.
And here we are today. You have done so amazing. I know that you're just speaking about that so seamlessly. But anyone who has suffered narcissistic abusive relationship knows it is huge to speak out and actually say, I've been in this type of relationship. So not everyone on here would have suffered before, but for those that have and are watching this back, I know that they can relate and know how brave you are. I know when I came out of my narcissistic relationship, it was very embarrassing. To say actually I've been in a relationship like that, I definitely was in denial as well before I did the research and looked into it. And I think in the beginning, when you come out of a relationship like that, you're watching things like this, and you're almost watching it to pick holes in it to find out that they're not a narcissist. You're not actually watching it to find out that they are. And so I guess what I also want to say at the top end is we put out comments on this to say that if you or someone you think that you or someone may be in a narcissistic relationship, or you just want to get educated, to watch this. If you're watching this because you think you may be in a narcissistic relationship, it's highly likely that you are.
Yeah.
People in normal, healthy relationships do not just go around Googling, am I in a narcissistic relationship? It doesn't happen.
No.
So it's quite likely that you are actually in that type of relationship just by the mere fact that you just felt an instinct to start researching because something doesn't feel quite right. Do you get what I mean?
And usually when something doesn't feel right, trust your instinct, because there's something wrong. Trust your, and the fact that even if you're in here right now, that means it probably is a narcissistic relationship and you're dealing with a narcissist and you need to get out. That's what I was saying.
Someone or if you're here for educational purposes, because we hope that some people are as well, because the whole thing was that me and Aina both said, had we had known before about these statements, maybe we would have just missed the whole thing, you know. But you just don't know, do you? And so you're just looking for that soulmate connection. You're looking for that, the other half, whatever you want to call it, twin flame, all of these type of things. And actually, you run into the devil. So it's like, hopefully this is really, really going to help you guys. So you've obviously done your intro. For everyone watching this, I'm Bianca Boyce. I'm a business and personal development coach. I'm also the coaching director of Female Hospitality Network, and I partner with Access UK, who is a charity that works with the main community, helping them with unemployment and getting them into education, and I run entrepreneurship programs for them. The reason why I started doing all of these talks as well, because whenever I'm coaching my clients, whether it's business or personal development, one of the things that's always useful is sharing your experience. It's very comforting to know that you're not the only one that's gone through something, and it's very empowering to see people who have gone through what you're going through and get to the other side of it, because it gives you a bit of hope when you haven't got any. So I started these talks and getting people in who I believe are experts, in my opinion, in different fields, on different topics that I also have experience, life experience and knowledge experience in, just to start raising awareness. So it's quite likely, if you guys find this one informative and depending on the feedback, that we're going to continue, to be honest, to break down different areas on narcissistic abuse, because love bombing is one area. There's devaluation, there's discard, there's trauma bonding, there's gaslighting. It's so many things. Yeah, and the more you guys know, the more like you women and men are equipped to just stay the hell away from these people. So, do you want to take the start of it, Aina? We're going to just be breaking down, just for those of you who don't know, like what a narcissist is, isn't it?
So if you probably do know what it is, but we're just going to quickly explain what a narcissist is. So as I said before, narcissists can really come in all shapes and sizes. It can be your mum, it could be your dad. What I experienced was in a partner. So they are someone that is very manipulative. They lack empathy. They're also very highly insecure, quite childlike. They get their validation from mostly people around them, or the things that they own, or like their narcissistic supply comes really from other people. And it is a personality disorder, but I think the problem with it is that not many narcissists go to get professional help, because most of them are in denial. There is absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're above everybody else, and that's how they feel about themselves. So I think what we're trying to do is raise awareness and really try to protect ourselves from ever going near a narcissist again. So I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Bianca, just on what narcissist looks like.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously in an extreme case, there's kind of like two types of narcissists. One is an overt and one is a covert narcissist. When we're speaking today, particularly in the love bombing stage, you're going to be looking more at covert narcissists. But an overt narcissist in the extreme is like Donald Trump, it's Hitler. Do you know what I mean? It's that I'm the best at everything, very grandiose. Now, we all know about those type of narcissists, and those type of narcissists not very good at manipulating people, because they come at you like that. So unless you like that type of egotistical person, it's not going to run with you. The ones that are less obvious are the covert narcissists, and they're the ones that are highly manipulative, and they go out with the intention to basically strip you of all of your great characteristics, because they are deluded into thinking that if they are with someone that has the characteristics that they like, that they will then embody those characteristics, right? So it's quite likely that even though some people do go for like people who are codependent, people pleasers, empaths. They can also go for quite a hard target to someone who's got loads going for them. Because when they're looking for supply, the things they're looking for is attention, sex, drama, admiration, food, money, increased social status. If you've got a lot going for you and then being with you will make them look good, it's that type of thing that they're actually looking for. So that could come in someone that's codependent and empath, but it also could come in someone who is actually fully secure with themselves, doesn't have any codependency, but that person would be attracted to that. The other thing that I wanted to say, and we're talking about the love bombing stage. So if we're looking at that stage as a whole, the whole purpose of this love bombing stage is to hook you, okay? So think of it like a drug, and you need to get that high, okay? So they're going to amp up and elevate the high and intensity as much as they possibly can until you're literally infatuated, like, oh my God, this person is too good to be true. And as soon as they can tell that you have fallen for it, then the mask drops and it comes off. Now, this is a bit of a difficult one because I was saying to Aina, if you've actually got like a guard up, for instance, and it takes you a while to let your guard down, that person can keep up that act for a very long time. Some people don't find out that we're a narcissist until their wedding day, until they get pregnant and have a child, because it's not until those times where they think, okay, I definitely trust you fully and I'll let you in. But as soon as you fall for it, that's when the mask comes off. But today we're going to be talking about ways that even though you're in that high infatuation stage and it's so intense and so beautiful, we've found ways that you can test it to see if it is the honeymoon period and this is the man of your dreams or woman of your dreams, or if this is your worst nightmare come true.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else to add on that bit?
No, really.
No? Okay. So let's go into the signs then. So what does this love bombing stage look like, Ayla?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, it is a cycle that narcissists usually in relationships. So you have the idealization, love bombing stage that we're going to speak about today. And then what happens is they kind of hook you, and then you get the devaluation stage, the discarding stage. And what happens, you just go in that cycle. And that's why most victims find it so hard to leave, because you're continuously in that cycle of high, then low. They'll pick you up and drop you, pick you up and drop you, and pick you up and drop you. But today we're going to be discussing the love bombing stage. So I did want to mention where love bombing kind of comes from, because when I found out, I was like, oh my God. So the actual phrase love bombing comes from a book about cults. And the author named it Love Bombing, the method that leaders used to go out and recruit new people to join their cult by love bombing them, by making them feel loved and like they belong, and then they would start to manipulate them that way. And start to make them believe what they believed in the cult. So when I found that out, I was like, oh,
like what now? No, 100%. And then the other thing that we wanted to add to that, and remember actually now what we were saying earlier, is that some people, when you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you can believe that they know what they're doing. Like you get to a stage, you realise who they really are and what they're really about, and then you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe they had this plan the whole time. I cannot believe they've done this, like they planned to have me in this position. But what me and Aina found out from experience and from research is that some of the narcissists don't actually know. Most of them don't know they're narcissists. They don't actually know. So what they're doing to you is not actually intentional. It's something they cannot help, right? And why it was important for us to tell you that is because a lot of the reason why people stay in relationships once they realise they're with a narcissist is because if they believe that person intentionally done that, then they believe that person has control over their actions. And because they believe they have control over their actions, they believe that if they want to change, they can change. They can't. They cannot. The more you do research on it, they won't change. They will not change at all. So because they cannot change, they cannot even control what they're doing. They will even say to you, like, and you will see it on TV programs, I'm really sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't control myself. They cannot. They literally go on autopilot. And so, and you know that because when you start listening to more research about love bombing, you're going to hear about Spirit Today and everything else that's out there, you'll start to hear people talking about things that happened in their relationship that happened in your relationship. Now, how is it that the exact same things are happening in someone's relationship, like word for word, that you don't know that person and your relationship was exactly the same? There were some things that I told Aina when I met her. Yeah. She said, yeah, maybe we need to tell each other who my boyfriend was because I think he was my boyfriend. Like,
we were like, wait, does he live in? Like, is it the same person? Because the things that we saying, it was like a script. It was like exactly the same techniques they use. So so the signs are there, guys. It's just for us to learn to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
So
okay, so let's hear it.
So basically, love bombing is like the nice part of a narcissistic relationship. It's the grooming process. It's where basically the narcissist is trying to make you fall in love with them. And by falling in love with them, you're more open to manipulation. You're more open to control, especially people that are empathetic and very giving and very, they tend to go for empathetic people, but it can happen to anybody. But the more empathetic and open you are, the more you're willing to, give your absolute all to this person once you're in love with them. So the love bombing stage is really to, make you fall for them as much as you possibly can so they can control and manipulate you and discard you later. I don't know. Do you want to add anything to that, Bianca, before we go into...
So, like, the other reason as well is because even though it's hard to believe once you come out of a narcissistic relationship, but in that love bombing stage, they are actually infatuated with you. They do actually believe you're some exceptional, superhuman being, that they just cannot believe that you've landed here in front of them, sent directly from God. You came up in their dream, all of this type of stuff. Like, they literally are obsessed with you. But it's because they they're looking at you and what you're reflecting back to them is what they really lack inside. So what they then start to do is they're like obsessed with you because you're this amazing person. And then they start to like take on your characteristics, right? And so then you start to think, oh my God, I can't believe I've met someone who's just like me. Like, we're just like,
but they're just,
he's yin to my yang, that type of feeling with it.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you come out of it, and you realise it wasn't that, isn't it? Like, it literally feels like that. It's a magical, it's intense, it is whatever you thought your soulmate was in life.
Yeah.
That is who is in front of you right now, and you're just like, oh my God, take me to the church, take me.
So we wanted to discuss kind of what it looks like, what it feels like when you're in it. So what it felt like for me was really, it was like, I guess, an instant connection. It was like literally straight off the bat, like, I found the love of my life, like, this is it. And I guess your dates will get bigger and bigger. It's like very Instagrammable, like the places that you'll go. You might find yourself abroad in like the first couple of months. You'll be in some exotic some hotel somewhere. But things will be moving very, very fast. And you'll be spending so much time with each other. It'll be constant compliments, constant attention. They'll be available any time of the night, any time of the day. And they'll definitely...
You get a lot of gifts as well, don't you? There's like gifts and stuff like that. Like romantic walks in the park, long drives off to the country. It's like all of that type of stuff. The type of stuff you're like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. My sister's laughing because literally she saw me turn into like a narcissist expert where literally. No one wanted to say the word around me, so I was like crazy, like, yeah, I know that last one, it was just so bad.
Bianca, that's me. I'm like, everything, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. I'm like, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Like, I can spot them from a mile off now.
I remember watching a horoscope like thing after I'd come out of the relationship, and it said, just, you're so highly charged at the moment. If someone wears red shoes, you'll think it's a red flag because you're so literally. You're so literally traumatized by this situation. You know what I mean? It was so funny.
That is me.
Seriously, do what you need to do, girl. But yeah, you're explaining that bit. That's all the practical things, isn't it? All of you're going to get the best gifts. You're going to get like the contact. You're going to get that conversation. You know, when you just wanted that guy or that relationship where people are just open and just communicating, it's just, yeah, you know, like you just get each other. You just, everything's perfect. You know, you don't really argue. And even if you do, it's in a decent way. It's in a, like, you know, a nice, it's in a nice way where it's like you listen to each other and you speak. You don't have to raise your voices and just basically everything that you thought was amazing. And so what we were talking about is like, it's like rushed intimacy, okay? So it's like rushed communication in terms of frequency, like Aina was saying. It's like in the morning. It is like just before you go to bed. Now, although it seems nice, we want to keep on telling you the reasons why it's happening. Though it seems like a nice thing to do, it's like, oh, someone's checking on me, sending me a good morning message. What it's doing is conditioning you to have a addiction and connection to mornings and that person just before you go to bed, and that person. My sister's on top of my head's cut off. Yeah, thanks. Just before you go to bed, you'll see that person. So what basically happens is you start to get so familiar with it that even if you didn't care about having text every morning and every evening, because you're so used to it, it will become something that's needed for you. Do you get what I mean? It just becomes like addictive. So it's that. And then we were talking about as well, even sexually, everything's rushed and actually amazing. Like if you have ever had a relationship with a narcissist, they will be the best person you've ever slept with in your life.
Yeah.
Hands down, the best person you've ever slept with in your life. Mm-hmm. Maybe the best person you'll ever sleep with in your life, to be honest. You never know, but they literally are. Like, you know, it's like if I'm not saying they would do anything, but yeah, it's literally like nothing you've ever experienced in your life. Communicate as well, hopes and fears. Do you want to take this one, like about how in depth the communication is, like in terms of early on?
Yeah, it's all the time. It is availability whenever you can talk to them, whatever. You feel very, very, very comfortable with that person, and they're there for you 24/7. I mean, it is literally like you found your soulmate. But what it's really doing is it's distracting you and it's blindsiding you. It's saying to you, look at all this stuff. Look at the life we can have together. Look at the holidays we can go on. Look at the things I can buy for you. Look at this life that we can build together. And what it's doing is distracting you from really getting to know the person up here. And it's literally distracting you, blindsiding you, and you're just looking at all this stuff that can be, and you're thinking, oh my God, okay, they're buying me all this stuff. Maybe they do love me this much, you know, maybe they love me this much that they're going to give me this amazing life. They're going to take me to these places. And I think even in like films we watch, that's what it's like.
All of them.
Films, in movies, like it's instant connections, and it's and that's what we kind of think is love when it's really not. You haven't even really got to know the morals of that person. Do they see the world the same as you? Do they have the same, you know, the same heart as you? And that's
the thing is, you don't know it from experience. It's like every one of your things is spoken about. So even though you don't really know, because you haven't known that person long enough to test whether their morals or values are the same as yours or how they respond, but because every time you have explained something, they've mirrored kind of what you said. And if they've disagreed, they do it just enough to make you not think that they're mirroring you. But you have intermittent disagreements that are calculated because it's too good to be true if you don't have any argument. So they construct one so it looks like you argue and make up for the evening. But there wasn't really an argument. Do you get what I mean? It's just that kind of thing as well. So what would you say? You said something. Yeah, so it's like, and it's like confessions, right? So for instance, you may find out from this person in the love bombing stage, everything's going great, you're going out, you're going on dates, all these amazing stuff. And then they tell you 3 weeks in, they were abused as a child. Now, this isn't something that you don't tell your partner. You do tell your partner that's happened. 3 weeks? Like, really? But what happens to you? Because every other thing that's been going on has been so amazing, you just think, and they will even say to you, I've never ever spoken to anyone about this before. Like, you're the first person I've told. Like, to the point where they may even say, like, oh, you know what, forget I told you. Like, make it kind of a thing where it looks like it was awkward, but it was all part of a ploy. Because when me and Amy were speaking, those things come up. And you have to pay close attention to this love bombing stage when you've usually said no to something. So you've said no, or you've just tried to like ease back a bit in the relationship and say, you know what, let's not see each other every day at the moment. Do you get what I mean? See each other once a week because it's early. And they say that's fine. And then that night at dinner, that's when they tell you what's happened to them when they were younger. And now, so you're kind of feeling like, okay, you said you were going to put the brakes on, but part of you is a bit like, oh, I feel a bit bad now because you just told me something. And now I'm like, can I really enforce that? Because they've only told me as well. And this is not a nice thing to tell people and leave them alone. So in your mind, there's all these things that's rushing through your mind. So they've covertly talked you out of you doing what you wanted to do, which was put the brakes on a bit. They're not ever going to say to you in the love bombing stage, who do you think you are? I'll see you when I want to see you. They're not going to say that. But what they're going to do is make up something that makes you say that. Now, who in their right mind, when someone's just confessed to them they've been abused as a child and not told anyone else, says, yeah, I'll still see you next week, mate. No one does it. No one does it. You know what I mean? So it's like all of these tactics are there for that. So it's just to be like very, very aware in the early stages of a relationship, because you could be in a honeymoon period. You could, because love bombing and honeymoon period are literally like that in terms of what's going on. But you also could be being love bombed. And if you're being love bombed, you will start to see that every time you say no and put down a boundary, something happens. Do you get what I mean? So what else do you want to add in that, Darling?
I think that was it. We covered. So yeah, it's almost too good to be true, because it is too good to be true. That's what it comes to.
That's good, my lady. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. Okay. It probably
is. And yeah, it is just nothing like you've ever experienced. And promises will be made very early on, and things will just be moving very, very fast. But you'll be so infatuated, I guess, that you won't even really notice. Like, you would just be moving with it, that you're just kind of on this ride and you can't believe that this is really happening to you.
Yeah, you can't. You will go to your friends and say, I cannot believe I met someone like this.
Yeah, I definitely did that.
People, if you find yourself saying to your friends, you cannot believe it, don't believe it. Don't believe it. That's you trying to say out loud, like your subconscious screaming, like, don't believe it. You will say it like, I cannot believe it. I just can't believe how lucky I am. I just can't believe this. Yeah, don't believe it, because you're not. You know what I mean? It's all black part of a ploy. I wanted to say as well, like, the other things in terms of night rushing intimacy is like you could move in with them early, or at least spend most of the nights together, and meet their family quite early as well. The other thing that will happen, this goes unnoticed quite a lot, right? So in the love bombing stage, they'll do something called triangulation with you, right? So what they'll do in order for a narcissistic relationship to survive, it won't survive just on the narcissist, okay? What will happen is it will be the narcissist, it will be whoever you're in the triangulation with, and it will be people that we call flying monkeys, okay? Flying monkeys don't know they're part of your relationship, but they are. And we'll talk about this in like other lives. But for the sake of this, when it comes to triangulation, a conversation like this may happen, okay? So let me think of a good example. Okay, so you're talking about relationship history, yeah? You're talking about relationship history. And when you're talking about this relationship history, they've got one ex who they broke up, but there was nothing wrong with them. Like, nothing wrong with them. This ex was like the perfect person. Nothing wrong with them, but they broke up. And it just didn't work out. And nothing went wrong in the relationship. They were amazing. They got on really, really well. Who knows? Maybe it was timing. Who knows? But they were just amazing. And the other ex, which could be like a mother of a child or just an ex in general, was the worst thing that ever happened to them, right? So intermittently throughout your discussions, you're going to keep on talking about past relationships and stuff like that. And they're going to keep on giving examples of this perfect ex and of this ex that was a disaster, right? So the reason why they're doing that is because at some point in the devaluation stage, they might just happen to bump into that ex that was amazing. Like, oh my God, you never guess what? I went to this party. Guess who was there? That ex of mine. That's what I did, right? And they're doing it because what they want to do in your mind, if you're not insecure, plant insecurity within your mind. Do you get what I mean? And they use the bad ex for arguments later on. So they've told you about this disgusting ex of theirs who just they hate, like despise, with every ounce of their being. And when you argue after the love bombing stage, you remind them of that ex. But you've already known about them in the love bombing stage. In the love bombing stage, you're cool, it's fine. Like, you don't mind hearing about an amazing ex, like a bad ex. Everyone's got a good ex, bad ex, it's fine. But you don't realise they've mentioned them to triangulate you. They can also triangulate you with other family members as well. So they may have a family member who gives them advice all the time, right? But in the love bombing stage, you give them advice and like you are communicating about everything. But when they go out of the love bombing stage, they will start to only ask that family member for advice and not you, to make you think, oh, before I was okay to give advice and now I'm not okay to give advice. Do you get what I mean? And the same if they had a family member that they don't like. They've always got a family member that they don't like. Always, like really don't like, that's done something really bad to them that is the family secret and no one can talk about it and you just need to back them, but you don't know what's going on. But when you meet that family member, you actually quite like them. And so you're quite surprised that they've got such a bad relationship with this person. But because they've told you that something's gone on that you don't know about, you stay on their side. But what I realised in the end is that family member who they've told you not to like would have been the only family member that would have warned you about them. And that's why they said early on, they don't like that family member because that family member is the one who would tell you the truth. Do you get what I'm saying?
It's very calculated.
It is. Like, extremely.
From very early on.
Definitely. So what next, honey? What do you want to go through next about examples?
What you can do. Should we move on to that? I think we've got about 20 minutes left. What you can do to kind of see the signs or know that you're being love bombed. One thing I would say is kind of try and look at the situation logically. If you went into a shop and someone handed you 5 bags of shopping for free and said, take this, you're going to be looking at the shopping like, what? Why are you giving me all this stuff for free? Why are you treating me so nicely? Why are you being so nice to me? You're going to be looking at the expiry date. Like, is this off? Like, you're just going to question, you're going to have questions. And do the same in a relationship. If someone is showering you with gifts, if someone is taking you here, left, right, center, giving you all this stuff, why are they doing that? Just question try and have like a logical outlook on it, and just try and question why they're doing this, because they wouldn't do it you wouldn't accept it in any other circumstance. It's a man or a woman doing this for you now. Just kind of try and have the same logic. I know it's not the same, and it's hard when you're in that situation. I've been in that situation so many times, but I know going forward now, if I had someone telling me that advice, just look at it logically. Why is this person doing so much for me? I know I'm great, but I'm not that great. Do you know what I mean? None of us are. And something Bianca said to me earlier was, think of yourself. When you see someone amazing, or you see someone doing great things, you don't bombard them with gifts and take here, left, and tell them they love you on date 2. You don't do that. So when Bianca said that, I was like, it's so true. It's so true. Think of your own behavior. You wouldn't do that either. So that's one way of looking at it. And I know going forward, I will definitely question everything.
100%.
I already, but I will double question things now.
Yeah, 100%, because it's actually crazy. And it's like also looking at, so another way to tell is test what happens when you say no, okay? And test what happens, look how he's laughing. Test what happens when you say no in the way of, look at what they're doing. Remember, you're in a love bombing stage. Now, on average, it's like 3 to 6 months, on average. Don't hold me to it, because it can be longer. On average, it's that time. When you're in that time, say no to things. I don't care if you want to see this person all the time or not. Say no and watch what happens, right? So there are some things that they do when you say no that are... Some things that you do when you say no that are responses to you saying no that's not obvious, but they're trying to get you back. They're trying to basically counteract your boundary or punish you for what you've done. So when they're trying to counteract you saying no, you'll say, oh, do you know what? I can't. They'll say, do you want to do something on Saturday? I can't do it on Saturday. I'm really sorry. Like, I just going to chill in. Like, I just feel like having a bit of time for myself. And then they're like, oh, okay. And you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, oh no, just that I booked us this like surprise weekend trip because I thought you were going to be off on the weekend, and don't worry, I'll cancel it though. Like, it's absolutely fine, I'll cancel it. But actually, those things happen quite often when you say no. Like, every time you say no, some surprise was planned. Some family member you haven't met wants to meet you and can only meet you on that day. Do you get what I mean? They're not going to be horrible things, but on the flip side of it, if they want to do like horrible things to you, then they can do things like, you will see mirroring in what you've done. So you'll say, no, I can't meet you this weekend. I don't know, I'm going out with my best friend from school. The next weekend, when you would probably have seen them normally, they'll say, oh no, I can't see you because I'm going out with my best friend from school. They'll literally say word for word what you said to them. Do you get what I mean? And what's your response to see, oh, are they irritated? Are they not irritated? Something in you will tell you, I don't think they're really doing that. You won't care anyway, because you don't care if you see them all the time. They care if they see you all the time. But they'll do little things like that. Or we also said that if, like, this is a stage where, like, if you're in a relationship with them and you, like, live together, or you keep your stuff at their house, like, the next time you go there, they may have accidentally, like, washed your favourite top with something red and ruined it, accidentally. But it just so happens it's happened after you've said no to something. And they will apologise, but it's a covert way to get you back. So all of them are going to be like covert.
Absolutely. And just to add on that, Bianca, I would say slow down. I know when you're in that space, it's very, very hard. And especially not knowing what emotional abuse is, what narcissism is, like I didn't. You can't slow down because you don't even know what you're in. But going forward, I would say slow down and just pay attention and see their reaction when I guess, like Bianca said, when you say no and when you do slow things down, see how they react. Are they a little bit resistant? They'll probably try and cover it up and be like in a nice way, but you will know, because someone can't keep that mask on 24/7. It's going to come up. I remember the early stages, maybe saying something, but there was an aggressive response. And it was a bit like, hang on, you've been the most perfect man for how many weeks, and out of nowhere, the mask slipped, you know, and they showed their real self for a hot second, and then it went straight back to no. So look out for those tiny signs. And I really do believe God sends them to us. God puts them in place just to be like, oh, and now looking back, God hit me 100 times with those little signs, and I just ignored them all.
Seriously, but I remember, like, there was a sign that I actually even pointed out to a friend of mine, but then overlooked, because we were having a joke, and he was like speaking to her on the phone, and then they were going back and forth bantering, and I was like, oh, I love her, blah blah blah, like she's one of my best friends. And then he was like, he goes, when we're married, we'll get rid of you, ha ha ha. And I thought, I actually got really annoyed about it, because I thought, who are you talking about? And for some reason, my reaction to it was quite strong. But then I said to my friend, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah. And she was like, no, don't worry, it's only a joke. And he was like, babe, come on, I was only joking. But he wasn't joking, to be honest. Like, he wasn't joking at all. So, yeah, it was actually crazy. You want to start on the one up for attention thing that they do when you have good news in the love bombing stage?
Yeah. Disclaimer, guys, it's not actually funny, but we have a stage where you just have to laugh at certain things, because I can't even believe some of the things that I went through myself. So I'll give you an example. When I passed my driving test, and I told the person I was with at the time I passed my driving test, I was so excited. I was like, I couldn't even believe that I did it. And their reaction was just like I had hit their mum. It was like it was just silent, really, and it was like, oh, okay. And then it was like, okay, but I did this today. So it's always trying to one up you. But I think that's, like me and Bianca said, it's going into the more devaluation stage of the relationship, where you was on that high and they're trying to bring you down. But that's definitely a sign when something amazing happens to you. They either go silent, they try to one up you, or
yeah. And in the love bombing stage as well, like, so when you have something good going on, again, it may not be that they obviously don't like you having something good going on, but it might go like, oh, I passed my driving test. And then they say, oh, I'm really happy for you, babe. And then they go quiet. And then you go, oh, like, what's up? Like, why are you going quiet? And they're like, no, don't worry, I didn't want to tell you. And you're like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, my brother just called me and said that
nothing will.
Something disgraceful lie like that. You'll find out in the end it was a lie, but something where it's like, it's so extreme and so bad that even though it is a good time for you, you know, if your partner, you thought your partner's mum was going to be diagnosed with cancer, of course your driving test is not important. Do you get what I mean? So naturally, in that stage, you go, you know what, like, forget it, it's something simple. And then they're like, no, I shouldn't have said anything, I shouldn't have ruined your time, you know, sorry, like, let's focus on something else. And then you're like, no, don't be silly, you know, let's talk about this, let's do something for you. So it goes around. But that's an early conditioning for, it's to get you to have a negative psychological connection to you achieving things. So it's so that every time you do well, you feel crap. Because every time you explain something good, some tragedy has happened. So you don't realise that your subconscious is connecting success with tragedy. So you don't actually really want to achieve it the same way that you wanted to achieve before either. Do you get what I mean? And then what you start to associate bad situations with a good feeling, because you know if your life is crap, they're very, very nice to you. But if your life is good, they're horrible. You start to want to be in a low place and want to avoid a high place without even knowing it. And that's the whole reason why these things happen subtly in love bombing stage, to get you conditioned to move. Good feels bad and bad feels good.
And they, through that, they belittle you. So you start to little yourself down. You don't, express the good things in your life. And exactly how Bianca said, the more bad you feel, the happier they are.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And what happens as well, so whatever happened in a love bombing stage, and this is important for people who are quite judgmental, people that go back and forth in a relationship, whatever happened in a love bombing stage, when you're in a low place, they will do all of that again. But as soon as you're feeling good, they will take away all of it. So your mind psychologically wants to be in a low place because you want that love bombing back. You don't know this on a conscious level, but we're telling you. So if you're in this situation, you know what's going on. But so you're going to want to be down. Do you get what I mean? Because you're going to know that person's going to start doing all those things and saying all those things again to love bomb you. And when they love bomb you, you then feel like, oh my God, we've got the relationship back to normal. And then straight away, they will start to devalue you again. And it goes round and round and round. It's called trauma bonding. Yeah.
And that's how you get addicted to the lower the low is, the higher the high is. So you know that after a massive fight, that there's going to be a holiday. It's just up and down, and that's what you get addicted to. And that's why it's so hard to leave, because you're always trying to get back to the love bonding stage. You're always trying to get back. And another thing is, you know what, just pay attention to the patterns. If it keeps on going round and round and round and round and round and round, pay attention to what is happening. It's up and down. No relationship should be up and down. It should be straight, smooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like when women say, and I've heard women say this so many times, like, oh, I don't mind anyway, because when I pull back, I know he will chase me. Because he's a narcissist, babe. It's not because you're clever and it's a tactic, it's because he's a narcissist. That's why you pull back and he'll chase you. That's why you stop asking him to text your phone, and now he's texting you all the time, because he is a narcissist, not because you're clever. So we, wear these things, and everyone are like, yeah, I'm going to put my foot down every time I'm horrible to him, every time I shout at him. He's nice to me, yes, because you are being negative, he be nice. You be nice, he is negative. That's how it goes. You get what I mean? So that is the cycle of, that's not relationship, that's called the cycle of abuse. So if you've been calling what you're in a relationship, it isn't. It's a cycle of abuse that's going on here. And this, I hope, is a sign for you to start thinking about getting out of it. Do you get what I mean? Because it's just, if you don't know, then you can't get out of it. Because you know what? It's quite likely that if you're in a relationship like this, so are quite a few of your friends, so are the people around you. So you're all looking around and just comparing and going, my one's not as bad as that one. So what? They're all narcissists. Do you get what I mean? They're trying to value all of you. Like, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that is... Dude, that's why it is a massive thing to educate as much women and men on this, because you can't, if you don't know, you can't get out. Just like how I didn't know. I had no idea. I was stuck in it for years and years and years and years and years, and kept on going for the same type of person over and over again. So it's not taught in schools. Your mum and dad about it.
Your mum and dad might be a narcissist as well. It's quite likely.
So the more people that really it's better. So that is my life goal.
Yeah, 100%.
As possible, so no one has to experience. It's torture. I can't explain it in any other way. It's pure torture to go through that, and everyone is deserving of pure love and happiness and a healthy relationship.
100%. And it definitely starts with you, So I think we're coming up to the last few minutes. Like, does anyone have any questions? And if What do you think we should do, Aina? Like do a Q&A or something on another one, or we should answer questions from here. We've got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, if anyone has any quick questions now in the last 5 minutes, and then we can do a Q&A whenever, another one.
Or do you want we can jump off, because I think it's going to cut off soon, because I came on a little bit earlier, yeah?
Okay.
So thank you for everyone who's watching on here. We're going to jump off. I'm going to quickly save it, come back on again, and we'll spend